Hi, and welcome to the course. Let's start with talking about why you want to get your subconscious involved. Why do we want to take control of our subconscious mind? What's the purpose of that? I'm going to give you several compelling reasons. Reason number one is that your subconscious does whatever it is programmed to do. If you know how to work with your subconscious, how to access it, and how to program it properly, you can take control of your habits, your beliefs, your behaviors. Your subconscious runs 90 to 95% of your behaviors, and it is the seat of your belief system. Again, by accessing the subconscious, we can change a belief. Have you wanted to be more abundant or be more positive or be more proactive? Have you ever wanted to change a lifestyle habit? Maybe you wanted to lose weight, eat healthier, exercise more. When we can work with the subconscious mind effectively, we can program it for the results we want. This can include as well developing abilities that seem magical to people. We have courses at the Ascension Center to help you use your subconscious for things like telepathy, psychometry, photographic memory, and even perceptual bilocation, which is having your consciousness be in more than one location at a time. Reason number two is that your subconscious is responsible for all of your emotional reactions. If you want to deal with something that has an emotional component, it makes sense to get the part of your mind that generates your emotions involved. If my cell phone breaks, I don't take it to a shoe store. The shoe store doesn't do cell phones. It's hard for us to change what's going on for us emotionally using our conscious mind, our logical mind. Our conscious mind is not the part of our mind that generates emotions. And so, if you've ever struggled with things like anxiety, depression, feeling easily overwhelmed, easily frustrated, feeling easily triggered, reactive, all of these are just some of the things that can be dealt with when we know how to properly access the subconscious mind. You can change how you respond to things. Instead of reacting, you can have a much more positive response. We can also access the subconscious to cultivate positive emotional states that we would prefer to experience. We can sort of train the subconscious how to go to gratitude more easily, or how to look for the positive or the joyful things in our lives. Reason number three, your subconscious is your creative mind. If you're a creative type, if you do any kind of artwork, you're a musician, you're a writer, when you're doing your creative activity, you probably have noticed you lose track of time or you're not aware of your surroundings. That's because when we're in that state, we are coming from our subconscious mind. Because the subconscious is not the part of our mind that understands things like passage of time, we can easily go into a flow state when we're doing something creative, when we're in our subconscious mind. Now, what this means is that we can use accessing the subconscious to enhance our creativity or to find solutions to problems that we may not have considered before. The next reason is that your subconscious is connected to source. Now, source is known by a lot of different names: the universe, the Akashic records, the matrix, the all that is. The idea is that everything that ever existed or ever will exist exists right now at source. And if you know how to work with your subconscious correctly, you can access all of that information. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, you could look ahead into the future at different possibilities that could play out for you depending on choices that you're making today. You can then use that information to make the best choice because you already know how things are going to unfold. You could also go into your past. You could reminisce. You could enjoy some lovely experience that's happened to you, re-experience it. Or you could learn about yourself. Why did I turn out the way I did? How did somebody I care about turn out the way they did? You can even explore the past of other people. You could connect with the consciousness of a great thinker, get insight, get clarity, get answers. Everybody's consciousness also exists at source. You could even go to pivotal moments or events in history and see what happened for yourself. This is actually one of the uses of accessing information at source that I'm interested in. being able to get the truth for yourself, not having to rely on the narratives that we are given from other people who have an agenda of their own. And so you can get pure information that is unadulterated by accessing it yourself by using your subconscious mind. Now, as you probably are already understanding, when you can access your subconscious, you are empowered. You can change habits, beliefs, behaviors, the way you're thinking. You can get information. You can regulate your emotions. And so the fifth reason is we are all connected. When we each take responsibility for improving ourselves, our health, our happiness, our life, our well-being, we are contributing to a greater world overall because we are all interrelated. I have a wish. My wish is that I'm able to help so many people out there in the world, to empower so many people, to get so many people hyped up about the skills and resources that they have available to them on a subconscious level, that a tipping point is reached, that there are so many empowered people in the world, so many happy, healthy people in the world, that that ripples out and improves the world overall. That's my goal. Now, reason number six is we create our own reality. We are powerful manifestors, creating our reality with the universe. What we think about, what we intend, what we put energy into materializes. You might be familiar with the law of attraction. Law of attraction states that everything is energy, including our thoughts. The thoughts that we think each have their own unique vibrational signature. And the thoughts that we entertain go out into the universe and, like powerful magnets, attract back things of a similar quality. Now, you may also be familiar with the concept of self-fulfilling prophecy. With self-fulfilling prophecy, what we believe becomes our reality. So let's say when you're a kid, your teacher tells you you're lousy at math, you're never going to get it, and you believe it because it's coming from somebody who you place in a position of authority. And this creates a mental block for you. Whenever you come up against math, you just freeze up. You start to think of yourself as somebody who's not good at math. And guess what? You become somebody not good at math. Now, another thing that we do is called cognitive filtering. With cognitive filtering, we will see out there in the world what matches our belief system, and we will filter out anything that does not match. It's kind of like playing a game of I Spy. The room that I'm in has many colors in it, but if I'm told to look for the color black, that's going to be the color I notice. It's going to pop out at me. And while I'm noticing black, I'm not noticing red or yellow or blue or purple. I'm canceling those things out. And so we see in the world what is a match for our belief system. Let me give you some examples. If you grew up in a household that taught you the world is full of bad people doing bad things, that would be your experience of the world. When you go out into the world, you will cognitively filter out anything that does not match that belief. And so if you turn on a news program, the stories that will catch your attention will be the bad people doing bad things. If you walk past a schoolyard full of kids playing, you're going to interpret their voices as kids up to mischief, kids misbehaving. If you walked into a room full of unfamiliar people, you would hone in on somebody who looks sketchy. And if somebody gave you a compliment, you would probably think, what do they mean by that? What's the agenda? What do they want to get out of me here? Now, if you grew up in a household that taught you the world is full of good people doing good things, you would be playing a completely different game of I Spy. You would have a different experience of the world. If you turned on that same news program, this time the stories that would catch your attention would be the Good Samaritans, the people helping out after crises, the relief efforts. You would be playing a different game of I Spy. If you walked past that same schoolyard of kids playing, this time you would interpret their voices as kids full of life and energy, kids having fun. If you walked into that same room of unfamiliar people, this time you would hone in on people who are warm and inviting. And if somebody gave you a compliment, you would just say, thank you. It wouldn't even occur to you that they might have an agenda. And so the world has a lot of information in it, but we can't focus on it all, so we filter out the information that doesn't match what we believe. The reason we do this, and the way we're able to do this, is we have a portion of our brain called the reticular activating system. Its job is to see out there in the world whatever is a match for what's in our consciousness. So for example, when I was pregnant, it seemed like everywhere I looked there were pregnant women, and products for pregnant women, and stores for pregnant women. I'm sure there were just as many before I got pregnant. That was just that part of my brain doing its job. I was seeing all of that because it was in my consciousness. Now, what do all of these have in common? They all have to do with our belief system. Whatever it is we believe is what we create and what we see out there in the world. And this creates a vicious cycle. So, whatever we have going on a subconscious level, our belief system dictates what we see out there in the world. Our reality is a byproduct of our belief system. So if you believe that there isn't enough money to go around, that's going to be what you look for, what you experience. That's going to be what you hone in on out there in the world. You're going to notice how the pricing has gone up for houses and for food. You're going to feel like every time you open your bank account, you're just draining money. It's just bleeding out of your account. But you're going to filter out any examples of prosperity, abundance. Somebody gives you a free coffee and you just blow it off. You don't realize that that's actually abundance. That's actually receiving some money, not bleeding money out. And so, whatever it is we believe, we'll see out there in the world. And then that strengthens our belief. If we believe in lack, we look out into the world and through cognitive filtering, we see all of the examples of lack, which makes it easier to believe in lack. And around and around and around that vicious cycle goes. And so let's expand on this a little bit. What we believe individually creates our individual world. And because we're all interconnected, what we believe collectively creates our collective world. And so if you look at the kinds of messages we've been given lately, everywhere we look, it's about war and economic issues and disease and disconnection and civil unrest. This is what we are bombarded with: the news, government, social media, and media. We take in all of those messages and we then begin to see that world out there. We create that world. And so, how do we create a different world? Well, we start with taking charge of our own subconscious mind. We work on what we have stored within our subconscious so that we're entertaining healthier, more positive, more expansive beliefs. We change our own internal programming, and as we do, we are collectively creating a better world. Now, reason number 7 is when we change our beliefs, we change our abilities. All right, consider this. We are constantly being told what to believe. That might come from a parent or a teacher or the media or social media or a kid at school or a significant other. We are exposed to many different sources of messages throughout the course of our lives. And they tell us what kind of a person we are, what kind of a person we aren't, what we should believe in, what we should see as true or false, desirable or undesirable, healthy or unhealthy, what we should value. We are constantly being told what we should think about other people or other people's situations. And because of the nature of the subconscious mind, we tend to take those messages in without censoring them. They get lodged into the subconscious, and because the subconscious doesn't update on its own, they tend to persist over time. Your subconscious is not the reasoning part of your mind. It has no ability when you're given those messages to step back and go, well, this isn't true for me, or I don't really agree with that. If it comes from somebody we place in a position of authority, for example, it just goes straight into our subconscious because we're taught from the time we're little to respect the big people. Big people know what they're talking about. Incidentally, this is why placebo effect works. We go and see a doctor, and because we place the doctor on a pedestal, they're these knowledgeable people. When the doctor gives you a sugar pill and tells you this medicine's going to make you feel better, people get better. And so that's a perfect example. The subconscious took that message in and it changed something about the person. And so all of these messages that we get stored on a subconscious and on a subconscious level. I get all fired up. And these can create limitations. For example, I have been trying to develop my psychic ability one way or the other for the past 30 years. And in the beginning, it was really difficult for me because I got messages growing up that that's impossible. Only special people can do that. That's not for you. We're not that kind of person. It was only when I started studying the science behind psychic phenomena, real studies of real people doing these things, that I was able to develop my ability. And so whatever it is we believe dictates what we're capable of. There's a famous quote from Henry Ford: whether you think you can or can't, you are correct. And so we're told what to believe. And yet there are people who are telepathic. There are people who can heal with their hands. There are people who can see spirits and energies and auras. There are people who can astral travel. And there are people who can do perceptual bilocation. We teach a lot of these skills at the Ascension Center, so I know firsthand we are capable of this. And yet, we're often taught that these types of abilities are magical for special people, not for you. You can't do this. But what if people who do those things don't have some kind of special talent? They're not special people. What if these are just people doing what they would do if they had never been given a negative belief? What if these people are using talents that we all possess, but they've somehow been able to maintain them because they have an environment that supported those talents instead of try to tell them, that's not for you, you can't do that? What if we are all unlimited in our potential? And this is the kind of thing we would all be doing if we took control of our own subconscious mind and the programming within it and really believed in and cultivated our unlimited nature. Well, ultimately, this is what the Ascension Center is all about. We truly believe that your subconscious is your superpower. And as you can see through this video, there are many reasons why you want to access and be able to work effectively with your subconscious mind. It's really all about empowering people to take charge of their own subconscious so that they can create their own personal world that they prefer and contribute to a better world overall.